Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you can all hear me. So I have another early morning live. I wanted to share some details of a post I saw recently on X of a woman explaining what happened to her when she went to the police for help. I believe this was in the UK. And she went to the police for help after being doxxed and harassed online. And we know the UK has its laws pertaining to online harassment. And this is a Black woman, a Black female. So, you would think they would take this very seriously. She's being harassed online. Her details were shared by some, malicious person, and she's in fear for her safety. So she goes to the police for help. And their main concern was the reason for receiving harassment. And when she explained to them what went down, they proceeded to accuse her of being transphobic. Yes, that's right. So they essentially tried to turn her into the criminal rather than the victim going to them for help. And she received a lecture from a police officer, I don't know, about misgendering or something. So let's take a look at her tweet. So I wanted to share what she's put out there online about this story and also an update. So if you could put one in the chat, if you can hear me, that would be great. Thank you. Okay, great. So thanks for joining me this morning. Let's take a look at this tweet. I'm making sure I'm not on mute. So hopefully you can see this. Great. And I know most of you are going to watch this on the replay. So this is, she calls herself Dr. P. She's a 30-year-old qualified clinician, I believe a psychologist. I don't know all those abbreviations. And she's now saying that after what has happened, she's probably not going to be anonymous anymore. She's going to reach out to some various media outlets. I believe GB News reached out to her because she's saying that she's not going to remain anonymous anymore. Like, what's the point? And she wants to handle this head on. So, we'll see how this story develops. So this is what she had to say on X. So, dear X, I need your help. As many of you know, I was doxxed by Fred Wallace, who posted my name, picture, and partial home address here on X. So her profile picture is Wakanda Forever. We don't know, if you go on her profile, you're not going to know what she looks like. And obviously she doesn't use her name, her full name. I made a complaint to the Met Police UK, and today I was called back by one of their officers. Name, PC Officer Humphreys. Badge number 2417, based at Lewisham Police Station. She tagged them there. All right, just making sure you guys can hear me. Should be no problems. Okay. Officer Humphreys asked what had given rise to the doxing, and I told him that I hold the position that men cannot be women. He immediately, without taking a breath, said, well, that's transphobic. Officer Humphreys then proceeded to harangue me, if I pronounced that right, about my transphobia and homophobia. I told him that I was not confident in the way he responded and that I would be reporting him to his superiors. He said, well, you won't get anywhere. I then tried to explain to him that being transphobic is not a crime and that gender critical beliefs are protected under the Forstater ruling. I also told him about the Supreme Court ruling that sex in law means biology and not identity. And obviously, stating biological fact is not a crime, especially in light of the fact that in the UK now, a woman is recognized as being one that is biologically female. At this point in the conversation, PC Humphreys put the phone down on me. Wow. PC Humphreys seemed to have no understanding of his responsibility to act as an impartial public servant. He also seemed unconcerned that I felt threatened and that I and my family could be put at risk by the doxing. His only interest was in berating me for my beliefs. I have made an in-person complaint to Lewisham Police Station, and I will be making an appointment to discuss the incident with my MP, Janet Darby. Yeah. We are being failed by a captured police force. And she tagged Sex Matters and Speech Union. Please, can you retweet this? Thank you, Dr. P. Wow. So this is what she shared over the weekend, I believe. Now, thank you, guys. Yeah. There's photos of a behavior agreement for forced pronoun usage by a student towards a trans one in Massachusetts. A lot of people were saying, this is the state of the UK at the moment. Even in light of the Supreme Court ruling, this is very disturbing that this is happening. The police who were there to, protect us, to investigate. And, let's just be real. There's been a lot of high profile shootings that have happened, Canada, here in the US. There's been violence attributed to a certain community. So, when one is doxed, when one is threatened, on account of just by saying that men cannot be women, you would think they would look into it seriously. But their main concern was, thank you, PD Force. Their main concern was scolding her for being transphobic. And the capture of the British police force is gobsmacking. Yeah, I mean, when I heard this story, I just couldn't believe it. Well, I could. I could. But to hear that this is, a recent incident and this is how it's handled, it's just very, very disappointing indeed. So she has provided an update. Obviously, you can imagine the reaction from people. Done. Absolutely disgraceful. So women have no safety because the Met Police has too many cops with a corn addiction. Well, we know that a lot of this AGP is linked to corn. Wow, same here. West Yorkshire Police cited my gender critical views as a reason not to protect me from harassment. It's a blatant discrimination and pure victim blaming. Keep pushing that complaint. She certainly didn't let this go. And I believe the update is positive. Despite everything I've seen, I still find this astonishing. Yes. People need to know this is still happening. Yep, and that's why I woke up at 5 a.m. to quickly do this live. And Jennifer said, commenting, liked, bookmarked, and shared for more attention. I hope GB News picks up this story as well. Dr. P's welcome on this platform, also if she wants to come and chat about it, whether anonymously or not. That is crazy, Doc. I'm so sorry you got doxed, and I hope you're doing all you can do to keep yourself safe. How dare that officer attempt to police your speech? Absolute failure of impartiality. Yes. So I'm glad people were responding with, concern, a lot of support for Dr. P there. And sorry, guys, I'm just seeing your comments come in. So I'm glad she's receiving a lot of support. The comments were overwhelmingly positive in her support in her favor. So I'm glad to hear that. And it's unfortunate, it's devastating really, that she goes to the police and she's treated like she's the one who committed a crime. And what confidence can she have in the police force if their only concern is you saying that a man cannot be a woman? You would think they would have bigger fish to fry and would take this complaint seriously. Not wanting men in women's bathroom is not transphobic. It's protection and common sense. Exactly, Kristen. Exactly. And again, stating biological fact, especially considering that the UK recognizes a woman as being that who is female, biologically speaking, not identity. It's not a crime of any kind to simply state biological fact. And nobody deserves to be doxxed and harassed for simply stating reality. So let's look at her update and we'll take some more comments and leave it there. So her update is a lot more positive, at least. Just share this with you again. Just goes to show what can be done when women get behind a woman who is being treated badly by the UK police or whoever. So this is what she had to say. Dear all, update. I have just had a call from a DS toker at MPS Lewisham, I think largely in response to my story here on X, which has been seen and noted. DS Toker is in the line manager of PC Humphreys. She apologized on behalf of the Met Police UK and will pursue the matter further with PC Humphreys. DS Toker said also they will take various methods to ensure my safety and that of my family, but she asked me not to divulge the specific details. Okay. Either the Met or Fred Wallace's local police force will also be investigating him. They are, it seems, very aware of his past activities. Now, I don't know who this individual is, but she's saying this is the person who doxed her. I'm assuming a TRA who has no regard for the safety of women. His priority are the AGPs, I'm guessing. I have already made a formal complaint against PC Humphreys, but I plan to pursue this matter as far as necessary. A new OIC has been assigned to me, and I will be hearing from him or her later today. I shall keep you updated. Thank you, everyone, for your support. I am deeply appreciative, and I am heartened by it, Dr. P. I also told DS Toker that I think my story has gained so much traction because it has touched a nerve with people, especially women. We women are tired of being denigrated and ignored. We are tired of being bullied by men who think they are women, and we are tired of the police defending these men. Very, very well said there, and I think that basically sums it up. Unbelievable. So the most important thing is that they're looking into this Wallace person, they're looking into his activities, and they're going to decide whether he poses, how much of a threat he poses. All in the aim of protecting Dr. P, which is what's most important, not policing her language. And just see what the comments were in regards to this. Where did the UK police force get the idea that it is their job to enforce ideology rather than protect people from lawlessness? This is an excellent response, Helen said there. Okay. See a couple more comments. What a relief. What a woman has to do to be taken seriously by police after being targeted and doxxed by an obviously mentally ill and potentially dangerous man is infuriating. I hope you are feeling more secure. I'm so glad you have had some response to this, and hopefully it will set a little bit of a precedent. The work you do on this issue is crucial. I appreciate you speaking out and risking everything. One day people will be using your analysis to deconstruct this insanity. And Prisha said, wow, this is amazing news. Don't give up and keep telling the truth. Yes, for sure. So, it is a relief that they're taking it seriously. She has a female liaison officer now looking out for her interests, and that's great to hear. Hi, Utah. Law enforcement has been coerced to participate in training, and this institutional capture will take some years to reverse. Hearing stories like this, it's like, yeah, it's worse than we thought. I have no idea about this. Little Cat Feet said, yes, Fred Wallace is an insane AGP who commits lawfare against women who stand up for their rights. Wow. It's very scary when you're targeted by someone like that. And, online harassment, threats, doxing, all against the law. So the last thing the police need to be concerned about is, what the victim has done pertaining to offending people like that who can't get a grip of reality. Yeah. Okay, so, and this is the last point I wanted to bring to your attention. Dr. P was commenting on a recent study about violence and, what happens when people are put on cross-sex hormones that aren't naturally occurring to one's body and in large amounts. What happens to the mental health of that person, to their ability to cope? Now let's take a look, and we'll end there. So she was citing a recent study, which I find very interesting. This is what she had to say about. Thank you. Okay, this is Keith Jordan. She said, I'm directing this to journalists in particular, but also to politicians and most of all to GC clinicians. Please stop using the term children with gender dysphoria. Gender dysphoria is a false construct. It has zero, and I mean zero, evidentiary or clinical basis. It is literally dreamed up out of thin air by the DSM and the APA in 2013. It is an incredibly harmful term. Wow. All right, that was one. I'll come back to that one. That's interesting. Yeah, this is what I was wanted to draw your attention to. She doesn't believe in the term gender dysphoria. So a study by the Crime Prevention Research Center, just making sure you can see this, found transgender shooters commit disproportionate shares of mass public shootings. They found trans perpetrators make up 12% of mass shooters, which is at least 12 times their 0.73% population share. Wow. And the person asked, why do you think that is? And this is what Dr. P had to say about this. Now, this isn't to demonize a certain community. This is just citing a research study and, observing what is in front of our faces isn't bigotry. These questions need to be addressed and they need to be asked. She said it's completely predictable and completely avoidable. Trans-type brain damage, TTBD, resulting from neurotoxic hormones, which the body cannot properly metabolize. 2, mental illness, severe emotional dysregulation. 3, underlying personality disorder. 4, extreme psychosocial dysfunction. T equals MC2. Trans equals mental collapse squared. Wow. So that's her take on this study. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but I found that very interesting. And obviously, in light of recent events, in light of the violence we have observed recently, we do need to ask these questions, especially when it comes to medications, medicating people. What are the effects of that on their mental health, on their ability to cope, with everyday stress? When we talk about the overactive response to things like misgendering, and that's co-signed by our police even. That's co-signed by our schools, by places of work. They act as if you've committed an egregious, act against such people for simply saying that this person is male or this person is female. When it comes to that, what impact is that going to have ultimately? The trans gamers world especially recruit these psychiatrically ill people to real world violence. Yeah, see, there's so much to look into. I'm not really aware of that kind of what goes on in that world, or the gamer world. But yeah, I can imagine. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share with you guys today. You can see there, Dr. P, she does a lot of research and she has a lot to say about these matters. And according to her bio, she has a background in psychology. And she's very vocal about the effects and the impact that adopting this ideology, and especially to the extent where you're medicating people, can have. So I think she's doing some great work. She's also spoken about, as a Black woman, being told that you have to have allyship with AGPs is one of the ultimate insults. Being told that this is trying to convince people it's a civil right issue. And how dare you not go along with it because you are a Black woman. She's been very vocal about that as well. So yeah, well done to Dr. P for continuing to put so much work into making people aware of these matters and the impact that this is having. And she deserved better. She deserved better when she went to the police for help. And there's a reason why people don't even bother going to the police anymore. So let's take a look at some comments before we end there. I know it's early and you guys need to get on with your day. So just before we end, if there's any more comments that stood out to me. The UK has been lost, is what people were saying. Oh, look at this. Another copper in the UK thinking trans ideology is law, not doing his job at all, and victim blaming. May he get in big trouble. Yeah, this PC thread, they definitely need to hold him accountable. We are not treated as fully human by the authorities. Yeah. Sometimes the Met expects people that are stalked and doxed to be the retiring type that flee from social media and use a fainting couch. Please raise this issue that these TQ plus gangs or polycules stalk their victim in bulk, and the Met should really deploy a task force. Wow. So yeah, there you have it. I'm glad to see that, the update is positive, somewhat positive. Yeah, just another way for men to bully women. And you go to men, male police officers, and they're on the side of the male who identifies as a woman. They, of all people, should know these men are not women. And you're berating a real woman when she comes to you for help because she dares to speak the truth. That's where we're at now. So I hope there's major changes made in the UK police force when it comes to this story. That's why this story is so important. They need to put in the work, they need to put in the training, and they need to, I guess, reprogram some of their police officers to recognize who the real victims are when it comes to these matters. And it's the women, it's the children, it's the people who dare to speak the truth. Like even men what did they do to, is it Graham Linehan? What was done to him? He was arrested and all of this had to be dragged through the courts because he dared to say that men cannot be women. So men are having to deal with this as well, men who speak the truth. And yeah, as Uta said, this is something that probably has to, who knows how long it's going to take. But they should be following the law as police officers, which is to honor the Supreme Court ruling. You don't have to wait for guidance. You need to start implementing it right now. Your officers need to start acting and operating within reality. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. The police in the UK and in blue states in US are afraid of lawsuits by the wealthy transvestites. Yeah, they're afraid of lawsuits, they're cowards, or they've bought into the ideology. They've bought into the ideology themselves. That's why he took it upon himself to speak that way to Dr. P. Absolutely appalling. So let's hope for accountability. Let's hope we hear more updates on this story and that we begin to see some changes in the police force, not just in the UK, definitely here in the US, like Uta said, in these blue states in particular, Canada, Australia. I'm hearing all over the world, what's going on. It's insane. It really is. So thanks for watching, guys. I think we'll leave it there. Hope you have a lovely Sunday. I don't know if you guys are going to church or, what your plans are for today, but enjoy the rest of your day. Take care of yourselves, and God willing, I will see you in the next video.